Mrs. Woodlawn was in her element. She loved a gathering of people, and one of her great griefs in Wisconsin was that she saw so few outside her own family. Now she had all the neighbors here, and could herself serve them beans such as none but she, outside of Boston, knew how to bake, and slices of turkey which had their proper due of praise at last. Happy in the necessity of the moment, she did not let her mind dwell on the danger from the Indians. Clara worked beside her mother, her thin cheeks red with excitement, her capable hands doing as much as a woman's. Caddie helped, too, but after she had broken a dish and spilled applesauce all over the kitchen floor, her mother told her that she had better run and play, and Caddie ran. Flinging her arms over her head, she let out an Indian war-whoop that set the whole farm in an uproar for a moment. Women screamed, men ran for guns. "Oh, it's only Caddie," said Tom, letting off steam. "Put a clothespin on her mouth," suggested Warren. But Caddie did not need a clothespin now. The men with their guns looked too grim to risk another war-whoop on them. The day wore slowly on, and nothing unusual happened. The children tired of their games and sat together in the barn, huddled in the hay for warmth, talking together in low voices. "You remember the times the sun got dark eclipse, Father called it, and we were so scared. We thought the world had come to an end, and we fell down on our faces. You remember?" "Yeah, we saw a bear in a tree that day, too. And remember? Golly, do you think the Indians will come tonight?" "Maybe they will." "I don't dast to go to sleep." Their voices trailed off, lower and lower, almost to whispers. The night came, gray and white, slipping uneventfully into darkness. The February air had a hint of spring in it. Would the promise of spring ever be fulfilled for them? Would the Indians come? Mr. Woodlawn's calm voice sounded among the excited people. "I believe that we are safe," he said. "I trust our Indians." Caddie's heart felt warm and secure again when she heard him speak. Tom and Robert Ireton went among the people too, repeating Father's words, but others were not so easily reassured. "It's well enough for you to talk, Robert Ireton," cried one of the women, who was holding a baby wrapped in her shawl. "If the Indians come, you young men can get away in a hurry. You haven't any children or stock on goods to hold you back." "Ladies," said Robert in his Irish voice, "if the Indians come, sure, we young men will not be getting away in a hurry. We'll be here by your sides and fighting to the finish." Caddie heard him say it, and straightened her shoulders like his. She could be as proud of Robert Ireton as she was of Father. After dark, sentries were stationed about the farmhouse to keep watch during the night, and the women and children made their beds on the floor of the parlor after the bedrooms were filled. No one undressed that night, and fires were kept burning in the kitchen and dining room for the men to warm by when they changed their sentry duty. Windows were shuttered and lanterns covered or shaded when carried outside. A deep silence settled over the farm. They did not wish to draw the Indians' attention by the needless noise of light. But the night passed as the day had passed, and nothing fearful happened. The children awoke, stiff and aching, and rubbed the sleep out of their eyes, surprised to find themselves lying in such queer places. Caddie had given her bed to old Grandma Culver, and she was as stiff and tired as any of them. But the good cows had not been frightened out of their giving their milk, and Robert Ireton, humming a tune, brought in 2 foaming buckets of it for the children to eat with the big bowls of meal mush which Mother and Mrs. Conroy ladled out of a great iron pot. The stiffness and queerness vanished like magic with the comfort of hot mush and milk, even if one did have to stand up and eat it. But the second day was worse than the first. People were restless and undecided. Should they go home or should they stay on? The food supplies they had brought with them were giving out. They could not let the Woodlawns exhaust all their supplies in feeding them. Yet the redskins might only be awaiting the moment when they should scatter again to their homes to begin the attack. It was a gray, dark day, not designed to lift anybody's spirits. A fine mist, almost but not quite like rain, hung in the air and curtained all horizons in obscurity. The women and little children crowded into the farmhouse, were restless and tired of confinement. The men paced back and forth in the farmyard, or stopped in groups beneath the 4 pine trees that sheltered the front of the house, and which father had named for Clara, Tom, Caddie, and Warren. The men polished and cleaned, then oiled their guns, smoked their pipes, and spat into the mud which their boots had churned into the tidy dooryard. Everyone felt that the strain of waiting had become almost unbearable. In the afternoon a few of the men went to get more supplies. Tom, Warren, and father went with them. The others watched them go, fearful and yet somehow relieved to see any stir of life along the road. And that's it for page 124.